wanted to say speaking of diarrhea so badly, and then we got further and further away from it.
All right, next time I bring up fecal matter, I'll send to you first.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome to Hat Trick. I am Jordan Dollar-Coltman. I'm joined by Elliot Tanti and Braden Dollar-Coltman. Elliot took the week off last week. We had a great conversation with Christian Steck about basketball, and we're going to talk a little bit about basketball because March Madness is wrapping up. But this week, we have to get to some unfortunate news out of Vancouver. That's what we'll start with. But first off, welcome back, Elliot. You had hopefully a restful week away from us last week. I hope that you're ready to go for a big episode today. How you doing?
Oh yeah, vocal cords feeling good, man. Christian was awesome last week. His insight and thoughts were really good, and what a good guest. And you can replace me with him anytime. That's outstanding. You guys average at best, but Christian really carried the show, I thought, last week.
All right, Mr. Average, how you doing, Brady?
I'm doing great. Christian's always got a lot to say when it comes to basketball. His bracket was completely busted, as I'm sure many are. They were close to being busted last night. But it's madness, March Madness.
All right, let's get to it. Here's topic one. So speaking about madness and a different type of late March, early April madness, we find ourselves in the first real serious COVID-related NHL issue in the North Division. So early in the season, we had talked a little bit about how COVID was affecting, the Dallas Stars and the Buffalo Sabres and some of the teams in the United States, but somehow for a good portion of the first couple months of the North Division, the Scotia North Division, Canada had escaped any sort of COVID, real COVID issues. That changed a couple weeks ago. Obviously, as Oiler fans, we all remember Montreal Canadiens, little scare there. They had a few players that tested positive. It cost the Oilers and the Canadiens a couple games against each other. Montreal had to have games postponed. Edmonton was stuck sitting in hotel rooms. They ended up playing a game in Toronto in the interim, but they will have to make up some games with Montreal. And then, of course, this week, the whole schedule just went to shit. The Canucks here in Vancouver have found themselves in a real predicament. It started with just a couple players a week ago. They postponed a few games, and then it just snowballed. And that's what it happens with an infectious disease. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but they are up to now somewhere near, they believe, around 19 to 20 cases in the Vancouver Canucks organization. Of course, with some of the privacy rules, we don't know the exact number of players that have been tested positive or who are in very close contact and therefore also in protocol. There's also coaching staff involved and a couple players on the taxi squad. But really, the Canucks are unable to play. The assumption now by the league is that, essentially the entire team has it or is in contact with it. So they have been postponed. The idea was that they'd be able to get back to practicing and games. There'd be a game scheduled with the Flames on April 8th. I think at this point it's fair to say that's probably not going to happen. Definitely up in the air if there'll be enough players available even out of quarantine for that to happen. So there's a few things. Just before we get into it, I'll give you some of the statistics or the facts here the NHL has put out. So the NHL, again, as I said, believes essentially the entire team is considered positive at this point. This is a variant. It's the Brazilian variant of the virus. The NHL has not yet seen that or experienced that. So this is the first time that that's become an issue, which is obviously a big problem. And for those who don't know, these variants are a little bit different than the traditional symptoms. So we're talking diarrhea, we're talking vomiting, we're talking slightly different things. And there is also now news reporting out of here that those, unfortunately, and this is the human part of this, they have spread to family members of the Canucks. So this is not a good situation. Obviously, most important beyond hockey and anything else is people's lives. So that's the priority. The Canucks have shut down, and it will last longer than originally announced. The NHL has not yet announced when that will end, but currently it's sort of a rolling timeline. Obviously, this is going to affect the schedule for the North Division. So they believe now games for the North Division will extend past May 11th into what was originally scheduled as a buffer week, but it's probably going to mean that there will be regular season hockey played for the North up until May 14th. And obviously this may be a necessary delay for the playoffs. It means that potentially the U.S. divisions could go into the playoffs earlier than the North, which is a whole different conversation to have about rest and all of those things. If those divisions get ahead of the North, and lots of things to dig into here. Finally, I'll just say that the NHL currently doesn't want to or is not currently pursuing a plan to use points percentage to wrap up the standing. So at this time, their intention is to still play out the regular season. This is not the Canucks are done and all of these kind of things. The goal is to find a way to still get the season done. I think at this point, it's safe to say we don't know what's going to happen. And maybe that's where we start with. When you first heard this news, Elliot, what were your initial thoughts?
Well, first and foremost, of great concern for anyone in the organization, anyone involved in this. I mean, what we've seen is that the variants are far more aggressive than your typical COVID-19, and that's what part of the reason why it makes them so dangerous. So first and foremost, like concern for the players and their families and the coaches, and coaching staffs are not young, so there's also concern around how that may impact people. Not, you hope everyone's the best. I mean, the other piece of news that I heard, and I don't know if this was a rumor or confirmed, but training staff were going into players' houses and providing IV to people. I mean, that is, let's just take this out of the realm of hockey and sports where we are and where we tread. That's serious. And so, obviously our concerns, I think I speak for all of us and thoughts are with people affected by this right now. I feel like, to be quite honest, I felt as though the North Division was quite arrogant throughout the year about how well that they had handled COVID and how they hadn't had any impacts and how great the North Division is, how great Canada is, and blah, 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 blah. Gets this Canadian exceptionalism that I can't really stand. And it really, it feels as though we've almost called this upon ourselves, if that makes any sense. And so I don't like that. The league is committed to the integrity of sort of the season. I just, based on the Montreal experience and with the extent of this, I don't know how we return back to play in a healthy way by Thursday, though, if that's what they're suggesting. Mm-hmm. And that's Vancouver already missing 4 games. If we're looking at them missing 5, 6, 7, I mean, that's a pretty substantial impact to their season. And there's a part of me that thinks that maybe Vancouver doesn't come back. And what kind of team comes back when they do? Those are my initial thoughts.
Yeah. Braden?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Elliot. Like, this is these are people's lives that we're dealing with. There's some serious illness going around with the variants, but it is it is a shitty situation. Speaking of diarrhea, it's like this is the worst case scenario. This is uncharted territory for the NHL, for any professional league, to deal with a whole team completely affected by, everything that they had in place was there to protect 1, 2, 3 players. Well, to protect the team and the rest of the teams from, 1, 2, 3 players contracting the virus. And now we're in a situation where, I mean, it's confusing. I don't know. Like, is it an AHL team that ends up replacing these players? How quickly do they get healthy? I mean, God forbid somebody doesn't survive something like this is serious. It's really serious situation, and they have to be monitoring this, and the next steps are going to be very important to determine.
Yeah, I think like
what they do.
Elliot said, sorry to cut you off there, Braden. I think not just that the North Division perhaps was cocky or was arrogant about it, but I think, the NHL really, I think, had begun to believe that they had gotten through the worst of it in the early parts of the season, where they were having issues with, the Dallas Stars have been sort of multiple offenders. I don't know if you want to call it that, but they've had multiple issues, I guess is the right way to put it. And I mean, they're in it now. They've got their coach Bonus had to leave the game after the second period because the test came back positive. I don't know how you're on the bench coaching if it's even a question mark, but I mean, literally he had to leave the game last night, or maybe it was today. I don't even know when it was, but it was, he couldn't come back halfway through a game. They pulled a guy off the bench. That's crazy. So, I mean, this is the reality, I guess. You're going to play a season. This is what you're going to get. We're all enjoying watching hockey. So, we had to understand that these people were taking some level of risk, but it's unfortunate. And as someone living in Vancouver, I can tell you it's really shifted the way a lot of people have been talking about this. That's a big thing. I think when you recognize that we've all been living in some level of accepted risk, but we're also sort of, I think, living a little bit in denial about the severity that we're still existing in a year into this. And this kind of thing kind of wakes people up or shakes people up a little bit either way. So that's definitely true. It's definitely going to be interesting, and it's definitely frustrating when you're team that you cheer for is being affected by it in other ways, because you look around the league and you go, or even just around the division, you go, this right now is affecting one team. Shockingly, it hasn't affected other teams the same way, but it's frustrating. I mean, it's the entire team, and you want to figure out what's next. I personally I don't I don't really live in the prediction business, but I would say I would not be surprised if we get to a point here in the next couple of weeks where there is a serious conversation about whether or not the Canucks ever come back this year, because it's just about both for their own safety and well-being, not knowing what the ramifications of this illness have long-term for players, but also just the impact of the schedule. I mean, eventually the NHL has to decide what's more important, getting the playoffs played and moving forward. They've been so steadfast in this belief that they have to finish the season in a way that allows them to set up next season in a traditional timeline, that there's going to have to be, I'm sure there is already conversations behind the scenes that haven't yet leaked out, but we're going to start to see those sort of cracks in the PR wall here soon. I think we're going to start hearing about, the Canucks are not in a playoff spot right now, but at what point do you decide that the competitive opportunities left to them outweigh the benefit? You know what I mean? So we'll see, I guess. It'll be interesting to see. Anyone on last thoughts there?
Just on maintaining the integrity of the season and trying to get back to like a traditional time, that has major ramifications on the Olympics coming up this year too. That's why the NHL is so keen to return to a regular schedule. So, I encourage our listeners to watch this story, because it does have ramifications down the road on how Olympics are going to impact seasons and things like that.
Yeah, and how other leagues are going to deal with something such as this.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Definitely ongoing, but we'll leave it there. Topic 2 this week is brought to us by Busy Bee Vegan. Are you feeling hungry? Busy Bee Vegan is a plant-based meal prep service offering pre-made, delicious, and healthy plant-based meals to the Greater Toronto area. Whether you're curious about plant-based vegan eating, looking to improve your overall health and wellness, or simply too busy to cook, Busy Bee is for you. Their plans are focused on eating clean without sacrificing taste and contributing to a healthy planet. They have made it super simple. Choose and order your meals from the multiple plans they offer, and they will deliver your meals in environmentally friendly compostable containers right to your door. You can find them on Instagram at Busy Bee Vegan Meals or on Facebook at Busy Bee Vegan. Go check out a small local business in Toronto and save the hassle of COVID grocery shopping and cooking. Let the Busy Bees feed you buzz-worthy meals. Okay, topic 2 this week. We're going to go... we're going to tee it off this way. It's going to be kind of a fun little topic. We usually save like our fun, weird one for number 3, but it's been a bit of a slow week. So we're going to do 2 fun topics this week. So topic 2 this week stems from obviously the very exciting and very dramatic finish to the Gonzaga UCLA game in the Final Four for March Madness. We talked a little bit about March Madness last week, and we acknowledged that, I cheer for Gonzaga every year because I own a hat that has a Gonzaga Bulldog on it, and it makes me look cool. But I look even cooler today because Gonzaga beat UCLA in one of the most exciting finishes we've seen in a while. It was a back and forth overtime game last night. UCLA being the 11 seed, the Cinderella story. Everybody was cheering for, other than those of us in the Pacific Northwest who actually give a shit about Gonzaga basketball. And an amazing finish, Jalen Suggs with the buzzer beater. And it made me think, do we have other favorite finishes? So not just buzzer beaters, although I think there's going to be a buzzer beater that comes up in this because there's some famous buzzer beaters. But famous finishes, you know what I mean? Like there's always those moments, whether it's an overtime game. We talked earlier in the year about the golden goal. That's a great finish. But, like when you think all is lost and then something unbelievable happens. It's what we all love about sports, right? Those moments that just take you out of your chair and you go, holy shit, I can't believe I just saw that. I cannot believe that just happened, whether it was live in front of my eyes or on the television. Last night I was sitting, my son was playing in the living room before bed, and I'm sort of casually watching the game. I'm enjoying it. I'm like, wow, this is a good back and forth game. That shot goes in, and the kid must have thought the house was falling down. Like I jumped up and screamed so loud. My wife came out of the other room. She's like, what is wrong? The kid's in tears because he thinks daddy's upset. I was so excited. It was, that's what sports can do for you.
It was unreal.
Split second,
it was unreal.
A live moment takes your breath away, or in that case, completely just like you just have this animalistic response to it. And that's what we love about it. So favorite finishes. That's what we're going to talk about right now, or crazy finishes. It doesn't have to be favorite, crazy finishes. So Gonzaga, obviously last night, definitely up there. It's just it'll go down in the record books.
The crazy thing about that shot, just really quickly, the fact that UCLA tied the game with like 3 seconds left. Well, missed the shot, got the rebound, tied the game with 3 seconds left. Everybody's thinking we're going to double overtime, and then it's a half court heaver. Like, that's unreal.
Unreal. Yeah, and you watch out today, on Instagram, they've got all of the clips of like, UCLA fans or just people who bet on them watching it, thinking that they've won, and then instantly watching it crumble in front of them. It's just, that's what sports does. It's awesome. So,
Brayden, I have a question on that play, because if someone who understands basketball, I think it's is the half court shot more likely because they just scored points, so everyone's returning to their normal defense? Like, I get the sense that UCLA sort of played that poorly because they had just scored. Like, there should have been more pressure, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, they should have been on the first guy. Jalen Suggs is the guy with the last shot, so they should have had all 5 of their guys ready for. And it's interesting because it seemed like in their faces they thought that there was less time on the clock as well, that they were just going to be going double overtime. And that's what you do when you're taking, they caught them off guard for sure, but they should have been applying more pressure. Yeah.
So it was just a quick transition from Gonzaga, and then obviously a lucky shot too, but it seemed like he should have been like that. He got that shot off way too easy, and he got halfway down the court, I thought, way too easy. So, okay. Thank you for confirming my suspicion.
All right, so let's go through. Let's jump right into it. How about we go with Brayden first? Brayden, do you have a favorite finish, or no? Do you have one of those eventful, exciting finishes? What's your favorite?
Yeah,
or crazy finish?
Well, it's got. So the Kawhi Leonard 4 bouncer to end the game in the second round of the 2019 NBA playoffs against the Sixers is definitely my favorite, and probably most of basketball fans in Canada's favorite shot and buzzer beater. There's something interesting for me about last minute shots or buzzer beaters. In basketball, I think that they're so much more exciting because the clock stops. I mean, I guess this is the same in football, but the clock stops and yet the play continues. So there's this moment where you hold your breath in anticipation of this, this thing, field goal going through or not. But in basketball, there's such an exciting anticipation for that. And with what happened with Kawhi, like he hit the rim, it hit the rim again, it hit the rim, like. And then it went in. Like it's just there. I just love it.
Okay, so
I guess that's what I'm trying to say. There's so much excitement when it comes down to the last play of the game.
All right, let's play the clip. Here's the clip.
It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
Maybe. Unreal. It's entertaining. Like, sports are entertaining. But to be able to watch the reactions of so many fans and also the players of just complete shock and elation, that's why sports are so exciting for me.
It's funny. It's like it's definitely one of those, for me. It's like it's right up there too. I remember watching it live, but it's also one of those plays that like you have moments that are remembered in a few different ways. We talked a little bit a while ago about like the golden goal. So when I say Sidney Crosby's golden goal, you could probably in your mind's eye remember the call, right?
Yeah.
It's from McGinley to the corner. Sidney Crosby, the golden goal, and Canada has once in a lifetime Olympic gold, right? You remember that. And then you probably also have a visual memory of that moment, but also like Crosby's reaction. This play, it's all visual for me. I remember seeing the shot go up and then Kawhi dropping down into like that deep squat, like he wasn't even sure it was going to go, and then exploding up. The bench is right. He's right on the bench. It's just like everything about it. You're right. It's one of the.
But here's the big mystery in that. Somebody needs to tell me why he has a blue tongue.
Because he's been drinking Gatorade.
That better be it.
That's not even that confusing to me.
Could have been Pop Rocks.
Could have been, I guess.
Could have been.
Maybe he's like Marshawn Lynch. Maybe he needed to eat Skittles to keep his tummy calm.
The blue Kool-Aid.
All right.
This is a slow week.
Braden's going to go with Kawhi Leonard. All right, Mr. Slow Week. What do you got for us, Elliot? What's your crazy finish?
So I'll set it up for you. This is not only experience I witnessed live. I was in the building when it happened.
Nice.
And I've recently discovered that Jordan, I believe you were in the building as well too.
So was Braden.
And so was Braden.
The
game between the Edmonton Oilers and Dallas Stars, January 4th, 2007. And this clip's been played hundreds of times. It's always the number one misplay of the decade, year, whatever, century. Yeah. Patrick Stefan, who comes down on a breakaway empty net against the Edmonton Oilers with 10 seconds to play in the game. The puck jumps on him as he tries to literally stick handle it into the net. It goes over his stick. He falls in the process of trying to correct his mistake. Next thing you know, it's defenseman to Smith to Hemsky with 3 seconds left and puts it in the net to tie it. It's an iconic 5-5 game, or a game that ends 5-5 or goes into the shootout. But iconic moment.
He was a second overall pick.
First.
Jordan said he was first.
Oh, was he first?
Braden, first. All right, here's the clip.
Goodness.
Here's the clip.
Clear defining.
First run fans on a pass. Stefan steals and he'll ice it. Or at least they thought he was gonna until he blew it. That's unbelievable. Here come the Oilers the other way, and Hemsky's loose. Hemsky, he scored! Can you believe what we just saw?
Unbelievable.
Can you believe what we just saw? I couldn't believe what I just saw. And you can hear in that clip, like, I remember being in the stadium, he's coming down and there's this dejection because Bergeron has once again misplayed the puck with, 15 seconds to go. And you hear this like, oh, and then Patrick Stefan's coming down and he falls and there's this kind of laughter. It's like, well, at least we get that. And then there's the quick up for Bergeron recovering to Smith. And then you see it gets it louder and louder. And then all of a sudden Hemsky's in. And who do you want? Like Hemsky in his prime, one of the best people you want with the puck on a breakaway. And he does a classic deke, streaking in and scores a goal. And, we have to start a club of people that have were at that game. But it was like dejection, laughter, excitement.
Yeah.
Exclamation. Like,
do you remember how that game ended?
They lost in a shootout too.
That's the unfortunate part. Do you remember who the backup was? Yeah, I remember so vividly watching in practice this backup for Dallas. Yeah.
Oh, Ben.
A young, I could guess.
Mike Smith.
Mike Smith. Yeah, Mike Smith. Yeah. Because Turco taught him how to all his puck handling skills. That all came from Turco.
Okay.
Because Turco was excellent with the puck, and I think
Smith
is better than him now.
We were talking about how we remember that play, and I also was in the building. It's funny that game has another funny story for Braden and I. We were sitting lower than we ever usually did with tickets to the Oilers.
Like
we were in like the fifth row or something, lower bowl. Very weird. But we started a chant at one point in like the second period of Zubov Zabum, Zubov Zabum, and the whole section started chanting it. What it was, Sergei Zubov, the old Dallas defenseman. But that play, I mean, Braden and I, if you watch the clip, right on the side of the Oilers zone when they're clearing the puck up to Smith, when the defenseman makes the pass, there's two white jerseys that jump up out of their seats. That's Braden and I. You can see this in the video. It's pretty funny. But no, you're right. It's one of those. The other iconic moment from that I remember is Ray Ferraro on the call, because I've watched that clip 1,000 times. We've all seen it.
Patrick Stefan, you should be ashamed.
Is that what he said?
It's a classic Ray Ferraro. Like you should be ashamed of yourself. It's great.
I bet he is. I bet he still is.
Well, it's like his only highlight as an NHL player.
It's literally listed here. I'm looking on Google. Patrick Stefan's career-defining moment.
Brutal. That is brutal. It's got to be like we all joke about Nail Yakupov as like maybe the worst first overall pick career-wise, but there's nobody worse than Patrick Stefan when that's what defines it. All right, we're way over time here on topic 2, so let me finish this out here. We've talked a little bit briefly on the show about the CFL. This play, I think, is the beginning of the end of the last sort of golden years of the CFL, when it mattered in Canadian sports, when people talked about it, when it was relevant. The late sort of early 2010s or whatever. It's 2007 is this highlight. No, pardon me. 2009 is this highlight. The Patrick Stefan one is 2007. That's why I'm remembering this. 2009 Grey Cup, 97th Grey Cup in Calgary. Montreal Alouettes, Saskatchewan Roughriders, right? The Roughriders, the most beloved and rich fan base in the CFL, but they have struggled for years to win a Grey Cup. It's like the cursed team. They're the Cubs of the CFL, right? They take control. Darian Durant is the quarterback. He's dominated this game. At one point, it's 17-3. I believe it's 17-3 going into the half. They've led the game the whole way, and then slowly, piece by piece, Anthony Calvillo, Ben Cahoon, classic CFL names, chip away. You know, it's the Mark Trestman Alouettes. They claw all the way back. They get a touchdown with 2 minutes left in the game. They go for 2 points to tie, and they miss the 2-point conversion. So now they're down by 2 points. They need a touch or field goal to win. They get a great defensive stop. They come all the way back up the field into field goal range with 3 seconds on the clock. Only enough time for a kick, right? They tee it up. The snap is there. The kick is wide. Saskatchewan has won, but wait, there's a flag on the play. And all of a sudden, the iconic slogan of the Saskatchewan Roughriders for years was "Fear the 13th man." They called their fan base the 13th man because 12 men on the field for CFL football, 13th man, and the crowd was just always terrifying, great noise, 13 men on the field. The worst case scenario, too many men, they go up 10 yards. Duval gets a second chance. He nails the field goal, and the Montreal Alouettes break the entire province of Saskatchewan's heart. Here's the highlight, one of the greatest finishes I've ever heard.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
To being a hero, and he's missed, but they're all markers down. Penalty markers down all over the field.
Illegal substitution, too many men on the field, Saskatchewan.
Oh, my.
That's a 10-yard penalty.
Oh, my.
He's down.
Duval gets his second chance from 33 yards out to win the 97th Grey Cup. Ball down, ball through, and the Montreal Alouettes have come all the way back.
There you go. And they to this day refuse to admit who the extra man was, but we all know that somebody, their career-defining moment, they know personally they were the guy who shouldn't have been there. Was it the guy who returned the kick from beyond? Was it an extra lineman? Who was it? Oh my gosh, just what a game. And if you ever cheered for a team other than the Riders, you hated the Riders. So the entire country of Canada was just loving this moment because the Riders are like the CFL's Yankees.
The 13th man is that group of asshats that show up at your home stadium every time Saskatchewan plays, gets too lit, and then cheers as Saskatchewan kicks the shit out of your team in your own field, in your own stadium, and you feel awful about the entire experience the entire time. And so they were the 13th man analogy is so funny about that. That's the thing that's so funny about it. But yes, it did also. I think that there were economic repercussions.
Oh, for sure. It's ridiculous.
It's definitely the return man, though, right? It's always the return man.
I think that year my family went to Mexico at Christmas, and we saw a guy on the beach by the resort with a Saskatchewan Roughriders hat, and my dad yelled down the beach, "Hey, look, we found the 13th man!" And the guy just flipped him the bird. But it's like, it didn't matter where you went. Every Riders fan knows exactly what you're talking about. And it's brilliant.
Well, but clearly it's the return man, right? You don't have a return because you get the extra point if they down it in the end zone anyway. So,
all right. Well, that was fun. Way over time. Who cares? That was a fun topic. Crazy finishes. And who knows? We got another basketball game on Monday. Maybe there'll be a buzzer beater to win it there in the end. All right. That's topic 2. Do you or someone you know own a small business? Are you looking to grow or to reach new customers? Hey, why not let us help? Hattrick is looking for unique brands, businesses, and products to advertise on our show. You can find out how we can help spread the word about your business by contacting us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. All right, we're going to go to hats off here. It's our favorite topic. It's an Elliot creation, so I always like doing it when he's with us. Really quickly, topic 2, we're going to post all 3 of those clips on our Instagram. So if you follow us on Instagram, each week we throw a little topic 1, 2, and 3 post up there. In topic 2, if you swipe right or left, I don't know how it works. It's not like Tinder. I think it's Instagram and Tinder are not the same thing, right, Elliot?
I wouldn't know, Jordan. I've been with the person that I've been with since before Tinder was created.
Correct answer. All right, we'll move on to hats off. Either way, go to our Instagram. You'll see the clips if you haven't seen them in a while. We're going to do hats off. For those who don't know what hats off is, we tip our caps to somebody or something or a group of people or an inanimate object that we believe has made a significant contribution to the world of sports this week.
Have we done that yet? Has it been an inanimate object yet?
No, but mine is not. Mine is sort of an ambiguous thing. I'm going to go first. Mine's a very large collective of people. In fact, it's an organization. I'm going to tip my hat to the Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball making a very important political statement today by pulling the All-Star game from Georgia in response to the new voting law passed by the Republican House there in Georgia. It is clearly and unequivocally anti-democratic. It is a voter suppression law. There is no conversation I'm willing to have that suggests it is not. But it is the first time we've seen a major sports organization take this kind of hardline political statement. Obviously, Delta and some other corporations have pushed back against Georgia, but this is a huge statement by Major League Baseball to remove the All-Star game. And in fact, they've also removed the draft from Georgia in the next 2 years. So they pull it out there. They haven't announced where it will go instead, but it's just a big statement. And I applaud Major League Baseball for taking a stand. We've so often had stories about professional sports burying their heads in the sand and trying to avoid controversy and trying to avoid political situations. But here you have a great example of an organization that is willing to stand in for something that is just so important for them to have stood into. So my hat comes all the way off to Major League Baseball. I applaud you and congratulations for doing the right thing. All right, Braden, yep.
All right, my hat is going off to the great Roy Williams. He was the University of North Carolina's basketball head coach for 33 seasons, having won a total of 903 wins as a college basketball head coach. He is the only head coach in college basketball to have won 400 games for 2 schools. I think that's quite a feat. He's a great head coach. He's coached a lot of the great players that have gone on to do some great things in the NBA. I'm trying to see here. He's 3 NCAA championships, which, as we're watching March Madness right now, it's hard to even get to 1. But a great career. He's been a staple there at North Carolina for the Tar Heels. He's if you don't know who this guy is, you should search him up and watch some of his videos of him dancing. He is a riot. He always has fun with his players. It looks like he exudes that on the court, and his players take that on as well. It's a huge hole that he's leaving there, but hats off to a great career in Roy Williams.
Elliot?
Awesome. Those are both great. Jordan, one small correction. MLB moving their All-Star game. They're not the first major league to do so. The NBA did in 2019 over North Carolina's bathroom bill that was anti-trans.
That's right, Charlotte.
And so, I felt it was important to mention that. Your example is great. Good on MLB, but there's another example there. My hats off this week goes off to the Stanford Cardinal, who today won the women's NCAA basketball championship. I think it's important. What's been important throughout this March Madness time has been that I felt as though the NCAA is starting to get closer to equal recognition of men's and women's collegiate sports. We've been talking a lot on local radio here in Edmonton about the women's basketball tournament as well too, and I feel this is a good time to congratulate Stanford and Arizona, for that matter, for making the finals. But hats off to the Stanford Cardinal who won today. That's my.
Can we just agree though that that's got to be one of the most awkward names in sports?
Stanford Cardinal.
It's the mascot that makes it awkward.
Yeah, it's a terrifying Christmas tree that's going to murder you in your sleep. Have you ever seen this mascot, Elliot?
Nope.
Google it right now.
Yeah,
Google the Stanford Cardinal mascot. We got a minute 15 left in the
Stanford
topic.
Cardinal.
But good for them.
Yes.
That's a dominant basketball
Oh,
team.
totally. And I completely agree. Nothing to be taken away from them.
Oh God.
Yeah, right.
There's multiple iterations here. None of them are any good.
The only mascot that might be worth is the what is it? The San Diego Technical Institute Gooey Ducks. Oh, Santa Cruz Gooey Ducks. Have you ever seen?
No. Santa Cruz banana slugs.
Oh, even
Santa Cruz banana slugs mascot. Okay.
Nothing screams intimidation. Oh God,
right. We're gonna post both of those on our Instagram as well. You'll swipe left to see those, or right. Geez. Who knows?
Well, anyway, I'm here to say I'm here to.
Elliot's no longer tipping his cap; he's now hiding underneath it.
This is okay. All right. This is okay.
But hey, maybe that's why they won. I mean, that thing comes out onto the sidelines, and any team is like, you know what, guys, you can have it. You win. I don't want that thing to murder me in my sleep. We'll leave that one for now. Thank you both. It's been a lot of fun. I had a good laugh this week. Happy Easter. Happy spring is sprung here. Hopefully we can do this again with some more fun, crazy finishes or whatnot. In the meantime, though, have a great week. Thank you, everybody, for listening to us. We appreciate it, and we will see you soon. This is Hattrick. Hattrick is a member of the Ordinary Podcasting Network. It's produced every week by Jordan Dowler Coltman and Braden Dowler Coltman. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thanks for listening.
That's a devastating story from your dad.
Pretty good, right? Hey, it's the 13th man.
Look, it's the 13th.